business industry growth do you think is best or would be best for Mesquite? And can you give any examples and explain why you feel that way?
Number one, I'm a strong believer in clean energy. We moved here for clean air, and I would hate to see this place polluted with companies just so they can fill the air up with who knows what. So we need to have clean growth in Mesquite. Now, where do we get all of this? That's another interesting story. Back in the 1970s, for instance, IBM Corporation stood for I've Been Moved, because these companies, as they expanded, took their skilled employees with them, sold their homes for them, helped them purchase new homes, paid for the moving vans, etc., etc. We're not in that situation right now, and it won't be ever again probably in this country. So do we have that skilled workforce in Mesquite? No, we do not. Do we have a college we can work with? Yes, we do. And we are hoping to expand the programs through our college and through the school programs in Las Vegas. We're not going to be a University of Las Vegas or Roseman College or UNLV. We don't have the population for it. So we have to make do with what we've got right now to be realistic. And I think all of this is going to come about just fine. But it does take a little bit of time. You will notice and you will see very shortly a number of new companies that are looking at Mesquite. I closed escrow papers yesterday on this would be the truck stop. You know, we can take that as a plus or a minus. It's certainly not going to provide tons of skilled labor, but it's a start. We also have two other companies that we should be closing escrow on within the next month or two.
Again, we're pretty much in the same boat. How are we going to do it? Eagles Landing, great. I mean, it is really great. But at the same time, we can't let it sit out there by itself. That itself and the developer of Eagles Landing, they know they're at risk. Because right now, as it sits out in the boonies for right now. What are we going to build around it to complement? Businesses complement each other. We need to get on the bus and start filling up those other corners. Because they need that. Now, one of the things I've heard, you know, and no disrespect, Mr. Levin, I constantly hear, we don't want to lose the Mayberry effect. Well, I respect that. And if that's what you want, I respect that. But if you do that, you're going to end up with a Mayberry Police Department. You're going to end up with a Hooterville Fire Department, and you're going to end up with the building services that go with a Mayberry Fire Department or whatever. This is a growing city. I'm for growth. And we really, really need to start to promote it. I know Mr. Linden says, well, this isn't our job. Well, we need to look outside the box. Because I see the city as a growth city.
Thank you. We're going to switch gears here with these next 2 or 3 questions. Touch on another couple of subjects. The city and its largest union recently went through an arbitration process with apparently the arbiter ruling in favor of the union. Local media printed estimates showing the city's liability to city employees of public tax dollars currently approaching $1 million. As mayor, what can or should be done, if anything, to negotiate a settlement that minimizes the impact this would have on future city budgets and the collection of taxes and fees?
First of all, the number was totally incorrect. And secondly, at this very moment as we speak, at City Hall, negotiations are going on with the Teamsters Union. I am not privy to the details of negotiations as they take place, and I tell someone afterwards because I do not negotiate with the city. We have an attorney that does that. It's a very, very touchy subject because the union did not want to negotiate publicly, and I'm not sure if that's the best idea anyway to have public negotiations on labor issues. However, I think we will come to a settlement, and when you see the settlement agreement, I think you will see that it is most fair for everybody. Obviously, if you're an employee, you want the most you can get. Obviously, if you're the city and it's the taxpayers' dollars that we're paying out, you want that money given out very properly. So this is a tough situation right now. Negotiations have been going on for a year and a half. The arbitration decision, according to our city attorney, is not the final decision, or the union would not be down at City Hall today discussing further negotiations.
Thank you. I've been watching this and trying to get educated on some of the things that are taking place with the arbitration. But in due respect, Mr. Lippman, a couple of months ago, right before the end of the fiscal year, he said, we're having a bad time, things don't look good, things look very bad. And in fact, one of your city council persons said, it looks very bad, it looks bad. In fact, heads are going to roll. I have never heard that from a government official in my 40 years working city county government. Then you requested the city to come back to a meeting to give you a minimum 5% reduction in their departments so you could meet a balanced budget. That happened. In that same meeting, the fire chief requested a 20% raise and a 15% for the deputy chief. And that was approved when supposedly the budget was in bad state. What is wrong with that scenario? And you hadn't even finished negotiating with the general employee yet. And they're still going. So there's something wrong here. We need to, you never want to go into arbitration because the majority of all arbitrations go in favor of the employee. You need to negotiate and work things out.
Okay. Are you in favor, or would you be in favor, as mayor, both of you, of raising business license fees or gross receipts to generate more income, close any future budget shortfalls?
Right, as I mentioned earlier, I did some canvassing, and they mentioned that right now the city is very business friendly. I think to raise business license fee, that isn't really necessary. We have to take a look at our base income. Right now, I believe the city of Mesquite has the lowest tax rate, correct me if I'm wrong, in the state, or I believe it's the state. But what do we have to show for it? We have to consider, I was talking to an educator, where my grandson goes, and she was telling me that 60% of the students are on a meal assistance. And it's not all Hispanics, it's everybody. We have to take a look at something and where our minimum wage needs to be looked at to compensate for the families here. Because in essence, we are contributing to that low-income meal. Okay, we have to do something. We cannot forget the younger families here. We have young families, we have quite a bit, we have school kids, and we are far from being a senior citizen community for us.
Are you in favor of raising business license fees or gross receipts to generate more income to close any future budget shortfalls?
No. When business fees are established, we look at other communities, similar communities, as close as you can find, see how they charge for their fees. And some fees were a little lower, some fees were a little higher, but we average out pretty much the same. That is not the source of big income from Mesquite. If you know anything about our C-tax, this is the strangest state I've ever seen in the way taxes are collected and distributed. I spoke once, and I remember Marilyn Kirkpatrick was there, and she tried to explain it, and I was more confused when I was done because of the formula. Property tax is not the answer necessarily because we don't keep most of the property tax. It goes to the state, which puts it in the consolidated tax, and it's distributed out to us in some unknown fashion. Hopefully it would be done on population. However, they refuse to do a census of Mesquite when we have all our snowbirds here. They do it in July. We've taken that to the state legislature. They refuse to change it. So we're stuck at that point. So in other words, we've got a lot of people here that technically are on a free ride, but that's okay because the state says it's okay. As far as the schools and the kids, remember we're dealing with Clark County schools, and their taxes are set up a little bit differently in how they distribute money. I think hopefully that will all come to an end if and when 394 is successful and the schools get on their own footing.
So they just signaled me and said we've got just one question left. And it's actually a follow-up to that last one regarding business license fees and gross receipts. So if not in favor of that, how do you propose to generate the required income to cover future shortfalls that will probably be created, that will come about naturally, but also if the cost of the union arbitration settlement impacts the city's budget?
We are prepared to pay a certain amount as far as union negotiations go because we have those funds and we knew about those funds, and those are part of the offers that we made to the union. If we're hit, let's say, with the total amount that the union is requiring, the city has to process for some appeal because realistically, we're in a strange situation. We have employees, and you can look it up, that mow lawns that with benefit packages are making $65,000 a year to mow lawns. This is a lot of money. So do we let heads roll? We try not to let heads roll. But we have to come in with a balanced budget. We're supposed to do a balanced budget as we possibly can. This year was the first time in 9 years that we actually balanced the budget. Will we be able to do that next year? I'm not sure. Our economy will have a lot to say about it.